So episode 6 of The Amazing Digital Circus releases tomorrow. Now, according to Gooseworks, this is the episode where things really start to get interesting. Which is odd considering that the marketing seems to make it look like some sort of goofy side adventure. But it seems that some of these characters are going to have big character moments that's going to result in some giant change by the end of the episode that ends up absolutely shaking up the status quo permanently. But what could that be? Well, I'm here today to propose the theory that the big change is going to be this is the episode where Caine finally snaps. Throughout these more recent episodes, we've seen Caine start to completely lose his grip, as well as several other website times that have also shown this accelerating even faster than previously expected. And now all of a sudden, he's straight up just adding guns to the circus, completely negating his own rules. I think this is showing that Caine is completely losing it, trying anything to make the gang enjoy his adventures, only for things to go horribly awry. It only makes sense that the big tonal shift in episode 6 would be one of the characters abstracting, and which character abstracting would be more impactful than Caine himself. Now, I can already hear some of you in the comments telling me that Caine can't even abstract because he's an NPC, but I've got some pretty good counter-evidence to this. Also, keep in mind that Gooseworks said the next character to abstract would be someone no one expects. I can't actually find the tweet, but it exists. Gooseworks has actually doubled down on this comment, and because of the way this specific tweet is worded, we can pretty much confirm that it's not going to be Kinger who abstracts. And with this information, I see there being two main options for who's going to abstract in the next episode. Those two options are either Zubul or Caine. Now, Zubul is a good candidate. However, Caine seems much more likely given the direction this series is going in. Also, it makes the thumbnail way cooler. Now, the mystery of Caine's origin is something that I've been trying to solve since this show first came out, and I've discovered some interesting things. Caine definitely has some secrets. You see, C&A is, in theory, the company that created the Amazing Digital Circus game in the first place. And C&A definitely seems to be a reference to the Bible story of Cain and Abel. And of course, you'll recognize one of these names, Caine. This means that most likely, Caine was one of the people who created the circus, and is some sort of developer or admin of some kind. And this is why he takes the role he does in the circus, not just because he's a programmed NPC, but because he's actually a human who was in charge of this game when they were a human. Caine is the game's developer. If this is true, this means that Caine would have been in the circus longer than any of the other humans, and also people have been kinda getting on his nerves recently, so I think it's very reasonable to think that Caine is going to abstract. Gooseworks has also confirmed that abstracted characters do still jumble Caine, the same way it jumbles the other characters or NPCs. So if we know that Caine can abstract because he's likely a human that's been in the circus for a long time, let's analyze why he's the most likely to abstract next. I am, of course, talking about this scene in episode 3. In this scene, Caine starts to jumble around, and so does the whole world around him, just like Ragatha and that random Gloink did in episode 1 when they came in contact with abstracted Kaufmo. It makes sense that if abstracted characters can do this to the world around them, that Caine, being such a central force of this entire circus, would affect the entire circus when he begins to abstract himself. And episode 6 seems like a perfect time for this to happen. As previously mentioned, episode 6 has been told to us by Gooseworks to be where the series really takes a separate turn. Gooseworks has said that the 5th episode was the quiet before the crazy, meaning the 6th episode is where things are going to get really insane. And what would be more insane than the guy who runs the circus completely abstracting? Given the scenario in episode 6, things are gonna get messy for sure, and I can imagine that that's not exactly what Caine intends by this. He's just not the most socially aware little fella, meaning that when this happens, Caine's probably gonna get very fed up with the absolute chaos that is ensuing, and if he got that upset in just episode 3, I can only imagine what this'll do to him. Not to mention that episode 6 is apparently where Jax gets the spotlight, and Jax is definitely a bit of a chaos king, and I can imagine that definitely Zubul or maybe even Ragatha is eventually going to get fed up with this, complain to Caine, and I don't think he can take any more valid criticism. Episodes 7, 8, and 9 definitely look like he can't. And listen, my theories are not always good. See last week's episode for evidence of this. But I do think that Caine is definitely going to abstract. Or you could just go with Zubul, because the opposite of my intuition's gotta be correct, so either way, I think we've got a good case here. But genuinely, I can't wait to learn more about C&A and Caine's backstory, as well as the other interpersonal relationships between these characters. And also, I don't know who this Abel fellow is, but if he sent Caine in here on purpose, I swear you cannot mess with my favorite character and get away with it. Unless you're making him abstract. In that case, I'll just be happy my theory was correct. But even if you don't agree 100%, Can you not see the logic? Can you not see this math? And of course, we have to talk about the Wacky Watch website, in which there was a vote for who your favorite character was. Caine was losing, so he ended up rigging the entire website so you could only vote for him, and eventually would end up tweeting the first image of a gun in the series, threatening the other characters' lives. And who won but Jax? I can imagine that Caine's gonna be a bit upset by this, and although the website is now just vote for your favorite team, I definitely think the fact that Jax won and the next episode is focusing on Jax can't be a coincidence. They knew which character was gonna win. This is all very calculated, I'm sure of it. However, I do want to acknowledge that this episode also might not have anyone abstract in it. After all, this episode is literally everybody gets guns and they silly about, so it could just be a very funny episode and Gooseworks was teasing us this entire time. Or maybe the big reveal is just some sort of character dynamic thing and I'm reading way too far into this. After all, it does make sense that they might save an abstraction for a later down the road episode, like the final one perhaps. Although I do think that it makes the most sense to have Caine abstract now and have the last 3 episodes be all of the characters existing in a world without Caine, existing in this circus without any adventures to distract them, leaving all of them to just kind of sit alone, slowly go insane like the ending of I Have No Mouth But I Must Scream, the book that The Amazing Digital Circus was based on. Of course, in that original book, the main robot guy doesn't actually die, so it'd be a departure in that sense, but I definitely think that Caine is a much different character than that original book character. He's not cruel, he's just bad at being good. I think that Caine abstracting here is the most logical way that this series is going to move forward. However, that being said, this video is already getting way too long for my concise style of video making, so I guess I should just move on here. So remember, Caine is going to abstract, Ralsei is Flowey, and this has been Tater Animations trying to do a YouTube video. But hey there, I've got a secret for you. There might be a way we can save Caine from abstraction. He told me how we can save him. All you have to do is click one little button below this video. And if it doesn't save Caine from abstraction, then it'll at least save me. I'm at the end of my sanity here, folks. I'm making videos about Caine abstracting and Ralsei being Flowey, so please help. And it's end card time. End of a video. This is where I talk to you guys without my caricature, which, to be honest, is basically the same as me talking with my caricature. If anything, honestly, the version I put out on the internet is a toned down version of me because I am just so much more annoying in person. I know you don't think that's possible, but trust me, it somehow is. Yeah. We're getting there. Guys, we're almost at 1,000 subscribers. That's still kind of insane to me. I thought this would have taken longer, but it's going good. Every now and then, for those of you who have never attempted a YouTube before, you kind of get stuck in these like little lull things where all your views and subscribers and likes all stay the same, which is fine. At least it's not going down. That's good. I'm glad that I can please the audience I still have, but we're not in one of those right now. We're on an upward spike, which means if we can ride this to the end, that'd be very nice.